Yeah, this is all you.
Welcome to Sights, Camera, Action, and we have 4 amazing people here that are going to teach you about branding and answer your questions about branding. I'm so curious to hear what you guys have to say. We have Nicole, Dominique, Amir, and Patrick, and we'll let them all introduce themselves and tell us what they're doing. Yes.
Okay. I'm Nicole Sechin. I'm a graphic designer and illustrator. My focus is mainly branding design, so visual identity, creating branding guides that involve your logo, your color, your typography, a little bit about your messaging, and various things like that. My expertise is a lot in print, but I also do digital marketing as well.
Hi friends, I'm Dominique Murray. I am a luxury photographer. My studio's right up the street, so I do personal branding, I do headshots, corporate events, high school and college seniors, and basically you name it. If it's a portrait, I'm there.
My name is Amir. Some of you guys know me from before, some of you from completely unrelated events. But I am a content creator. I have a digital marketing agency which is focused mostly on like short form content, like I'm sure you guys all like Instagram Reels, TikTok and stuff. I have clients ranging from law firms, I know there's a lot of lawyers here today, all the way to actually photographers. And yeah, that's basically what I do.
I'm Pat Schober. I'm the founder of Poetica Marketing. We specialize in content marketing and event coordination, which means we help companies stand out online and in person. So we do a lot of SEO, blogging, we write a lot of websites, anything that's written we write, and then we help put on events like this one.
And I skipped a part. I wanted to thank everybody for coming. And while I'm thanking people, I wanted to introduce Lynette, who is from Cohatch, and she is letting us have this event.
So, hi, I'm Lynette. I'm the market leader for Cohatch. So we have this is our 3rd location, which we're super proud. We've opened 3 of them in 5 months. So I'm super stressed and tired too. But anyway, so we have one here, Shadyside and Southside Works. Patrick's actually one of our scholars, so you guys can ask me later about how that works. But we have an impact program to help the community, thrive where we're at. So thanks for coming, everybody.
And then we have some sponsors. So are they here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have Lifetime Financial Growth and Houston Harbor.
Who wants to go first?
You want to go first?
All right. I'm Jack from Lifetime Financial Growth. This is my partner, Jacob. Thank you to Nicole for letting us know about the event. We are a privately held wealth management firm specializing in individuals as well as small businesses. And we really have, I guess, a love for getting involved with the community, helping out our local communities, and just being resources left and right. So thank you guys for having us, and happy to be here.
Okay, Houston Harbor.
Hey guys, my name is Tyler Park. I'm a lawyer at the law firm of Houston Harbaugh. I've got my colleague Corey Bauer here with me today. Corey and I mostly practice intellectual property, so we want to get our name out there today. We do a lot of copyright, trademarks, trade dress, trade secrets. I've known Amir for a while. I actually met him at an event like this, so the importance of these events is very critical of what you're growing your brand. And thank you for everyone for coming today. Corey, thank you.
Sure. Well, I would just add that I heard a lot of impressive people introducing themselves here. Really can't stress enough the importance of safe and sound IP strategy. When you're working with branding, when you're working with any kind of digital imagery, copy, you have to worry about copyright. You have to worry about trademark. You have to worry about these things because whether or not you're ready for it or not, you can get sued. Recently, our firm just dealt with a case with Netflix. Netflix was sued by somebody here in Pittsburgh. I mean, they have plenty of lawyers working with them 24/7 to make sure they're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that you're never going to get sued. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have problems. So having that legal advice and that help up front can save you a lot of worry. And it can help you know that when someday, if it all goes wrong, if something happens where you get sued for something that you put into copy or print, you know you have a defense. You have a reason behind it. You have a strategy for it. So as you're listening today, keep that in mind. You don't want to go out on your own and go rogue and start writing and printing things.
Yep, that's scary. And if you're a creative person and you create something and somebody steals it too, that's very good to know. Thank you, and thanks to our sponsors. Okay, so we have some questions about branding. Let's jump into it and get some answers. What is a brand? Like, how do you brand yourself? Why do you brand yourself? Do you want to take that one?
I'd say a good way I like to put it is like your brand is essentially extension of your personality. So it's really how you dress your business. When you go to an event, I mean, you want to dress in a way that's presentable and shows a little bit of your personal style, a little bit of what you do, your level of professionalism. And your business's branding is that same exact thing, how you dress it, the messaging around it, and the way that maybe even the events you're taking it to or attending, or the people you're talking to about your business, that all is an encapsulation of your brand, really.
Nice. Great job. So for me, when I work with a brand, it's typically something that is a little more visual when it comes to photography. So it's going to be your fonts, your colors, the type of imagery that you want, and again, how you're portraying yourself. So for me, a great example is when you come in for a headshot, what does that look like for you? Are we going to be sharing your brand's colors? Are we going to be outside? Are we going to be inside? And how you want yourself portrayed.
Yeah, so I agree with all of that. I think from my end, colors, fonts and all these things, obviously that's like part of a brand. I guess where I come in would be like building your personal brand on the internet is what I can add value to. And I think as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, honestly anyone, there's so much benefit into building your personal brand. I've had so much opportunity from people, like random people that I never thought I would like have the opportunity to even talk to, reach out to me like, hey, like I love your funny videos, and then they turn out to be business clients. So it's like, I really find value in when we talk about branding. I feel like there's a lot to it, but it's like you said, it's like an extension of your personality into like the world in different ways.
Really well said. How many solopreneurs do we have here today? So the thing that's like really tricky about branding is for a lot of us that we are our companies, but our branding, we have two different ways of thinking about branding. We have the branding within our company and the branding within ourselves, and the way we present ourselves as professionals. And sometimes blending the two of them becomes really limiting. And so branding for me is the way people emotionally think about the company, and also the way they emotionally think about you as the professional. And sometimes those get merged, and being able to split those apart so that you have more opportunities for yourself is really important. But I think everything that everyone else has mentioned already is really spot on.
I have a question. I'm going to break into two parts. So the question is, and it was one that was on the website, is what is the most efficient way to grow a brand, business or personal? But before you answer that, I have a question. When you're a new business and you open up, you want quick response, you want sales, you want to have people come in, you just threw out all this money and you need to make money back. How important is it to brand first, which may not bring in a quick response and may not bring in quick sales, versus getting those quick sales? Which one do you do first? And then tell us how to do it.
Are you asking me first?
Well, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Let's go backwards this
Sure.
time. We'll start with you and go backwards.
So how important is branding, and do we start with branding? Yes, absolutely start with branding. And I wish I had started more on branding when I started Poetica, especially. I just wanted to like get out the door. So where's Regina? Gina and I like slapped together some like awful logo that I used for way too long. And I wish I had somebody like Nicole beside me, just because your logo, for example, is like the first interaction a lot of people have with your brand. That's a first impression. If your logo sucks, then your brand sucks by extension, even if you're like the best person in your industry. So starting with brand is critical because you'll have already done so much of the heavy lifting in getting your first impression right. And everything from there makes your entire sales process easier. I know that you'll run into guys like Seth Godin, who will be like, hey, you have to do the heavy lifting, You have to like actually do the work first, and don't worry so much about the brand. But he's speaking in ways of like you have a team, you have someone you can delegate to. So you have to make sure the branding is done before you do anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, and actually going off of that, I think building a big, good brand takes a long time. So I feel like when you have a good brand from the beginning, and now you're putting all the work over the years that you're in business, and your brand is good, it's definitely going to be better than, let's say you put all the heavy lifting, you do all the work, but like no one knows you or your brand. Because over the 4 years that you've been doing all the hard work, the brand, the colors, everything is not familiar to anyone. So you're basically kind of just having to start over. Whereas if you have a good brand, and in today's world, there's like so many resources, so many different ways of building a brand that it doesn't take up that much time and resources and money to do it. Whereas before it might have been. So I definitely think, we can talk into like how to do it in a bit, but doing it for sure, I think it's like one of the first things you need to do.
Okay.
I kind of have a different experience because I have been photographing my like entire life. I did like take pictures for fun when I was growing up. Like I always had a disposable camera, and my parents bought me these little point and shoots, and like going into high school I was taking my friends' senior photos. So by the time I decided that I wanted to run a business, I already had a lot of the moving parts for my industry. I already had a camera, I already had taken some classes, I had taken Photoshop classes and gotten some of the technical skills down. So for me, I do think you need to build your brand first, because I had all of that experience, but that didn't mean that I was like getting clients. And then once I actually started to put my branding together visually of what I wanted to be represented as, that was actually when the clients came in, and I could actually brand myself as a portrait photographer, because I had all of these pieces from high school, college, travels, my friends, and everything else, but it didn't necessarily translate to the fact that this is my career and that you could hire me as a photographer. Once I put together my website and my business cards, and I got a professional headshot, and I put together my colors and my fonts and put together branding packages that I could actually show to people as, hey, when you hire me, this is what you get. That's when it became a source of income and became my business. So I kind of had a different experience because I've been doing this for so long, but from an outside perspective, yes, you should have did that branding portion first before diving into it.
Yeah. Nicole? Yeah, I feel like those are all really good points, and I feel like in my mind, this kind of ties to what I was saying before, where it's like branding is very closely related to identity. And I think if you think about that in terms of like self-identity, if you go to a party and you don't really like know yourself, you might become someone who is easily molded. So like you go in and you start to blend into the room, and you start to act like the way that people are acting, or you start to perform the way that other people are performing. And I think the same thing ties into your brand. If you don't have a strong sense of your brand, what that looks like, what that sounds like, what you really want to do with your business, you're going to become moldable, and you're going to start to blend in, and people are going to forget you essentially, or you're just going to look like part of the crowd. So I think having a strong sense of your brand and really investing time up front into that branding and what it looks like, what it sounds like, carving all of that out beforehand, then you can go to events, you can go to parties, you can go to all these things and be like, this is my brand, this is what I stand for, and people will remember exactly what your business does and what you stand for as a business.
Okay, cool. Those were, it sounds like the hands down answer was to brand first.
Yeah.
So I want you guys to tell us what are the key elements into building your brand. And I also want you to touch on how important is it to be careful where you brand? Like if you're going to brand in like a newspaper, does that affect the quality of your product as opposed to being at the mall? And, or just the type of place where you are branding, how important should you match that to what your product is? Mm-hmm. So, I guess we'll go back this way.
Okay, so I feel like, what was your first one? It was about
key elements to branding, and how, do you have to be careful where you brand?
Yes, so I would say key elements of branding. I feel like we have like a nice diverse panel where it's like we fall into those key elements, which is nice. which is like you need your visual identity, which is how you're presenting yourself in colors and your logo and how you're taking your photos and things like that. You need your brand elements in terms of where are you marketing yourself, which is social media, or are you investing in mostly digital? Are you investing in print? Are you doing a bit of both? Understanding what that is. And then in terms of like your content and your messaging, what does that sound like? What kind of words are you using? What kind of message are you essentially conveying? So I think that gives you like a nice variety and a very full view of a brand, especially starting out. In terms of where to brand yourself, I feel like that kind of is like where there's like a bit of a overlap between marketing and branding, and the two are very similar, but I think they can be very different as well. Marketing is influenced by your branding. So if you know your branding, you know what you're trying to achieve, then your marketing choices will be shaped by that. So if you know your audience in terms of your brand, and say you're trying to go more for teens, then you might show up at a mall because you're like, well, I really want to target like this demographic, and I know that because that's what my brand is looking for. So I think that's kind of where that differentiation comes in.
The key elements for me are very visual. So it's going to be, do you have a headshot? Because first impressions are everything, and a lot of the times the first thing that somebody does when they hear about you is they either Google you or they Facebook you or maybe they Instagram you, and like, what is popping up? If it's a selfie from 5 years ago, we'll see what happens, right? But if it's a professional headshot and you're doing business with that person, they're more likely to dig deeper. The second thing is going to be a logo, because you want people to be able to identify not just you as a person, but also you as a brand. Third for me, third and fourth is going to be your color palette and your fonts. The more consistent you are with those things, and I'm sure Nicole can attest to this, we're constantly scrolling on social media, so the quicker that somebody can recognize you and your brand because of consistency in what you're posting and the things that you're using, the easier it's going to be for you to stand out from the crowd. I've used the same colors since 2018-ish, but even before that I was always wearing the colors that I picked for my brand palette. So I would have my friends text me and be like, oh my god, I saw this and it made me think of you, and maybe you should come to the store and buy it because you could wear it to work. As for where you should be like promoting your brand, I agree it ties into your marketing. Everybody has a different avatar of who they are trying to serve. So think about your target audience. Where would they be at? For me, when I'm trying to attract my high school seniors, when they come in for their portraits, most of the teenagers that I serve are really heavy on Instagram. So I'm constantly on my Instagram story. I'm constantly posting on to my Instagram feed, and making sure that my channels are active or on there, that my story highlights are up to date, and that my feed looks nice so that they're attracted to it. For more of the B2B side of things, I'm going to be on LinkedIn and Facebook because it's typically an older audience above the 25-30 range that I'm trying to attract, so I put those marketing tools into that. So I think it just comes down to creating an avatar of who you're trying to attract and thinking about where they are going to actively be.
Yeah, and two things. One, like you guys said, like you have someone comes to your Instagram, for example, and they see first, what did you say first?
High school seniors.
High school, and the photo, right, a selfie. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a nice photo, you can see what this person looks like how they appear as professional. And then they have a nice logo. Okay, they're, again, reinforcing that. And then now they have videos that are adding value to what you are looking at. Let's say, it could be so many different things, but you look at it, now you can hear this person. Now you can get a feel of what this person is about, right? So there's words, like image, then there's the photo, visual image, and then there's moving image, which is video. And so it's all kind of, and when it comes to the video itself, if you have a color set, if you have all a branding already done, well, now we can use it for the captions on the video. I'm sure you guys have seen when people talk in the camera, there's words, subtitles in front of the, so we can use the same colors and we can use it for all of it, and we can just put that as part of your brand. So what was the second part of the question?
Where would you put your brand?
Well, for me, I'd be Instagram is a big one. I would if you were to look for it online, I think Instagram currently and TikTok, but Instagram specifically, the algorithms are so powerful and it's free. So the fact that you can post a quick 30-second video and it can reach hundreds of millions of people, and it can very easily, why would you not do it? You can pay for ads, you can do Google ads, and some of the things I've been doing myself before, but when I noticed this, I'm like, there's nothing better that I can think of in terms of how easy it is to do and how far you can go with it. So,
great. So for me, I often think about branding in copy, because that's how I approach a lot of different things. And for a lot of the companies that we work with, especially the small brands, they don't have any sort of branding guidelines. And the companies that do have really thick, long branding guidelines are great to work with. They'll tell you exactly what you can and you can't do. For 90% of companies out there don't have them. And so an exercise I do just to get us started is I say, if your brand was a person and they were sitting at this table with us, how would you describe them? What's their education level? What's their personality like? How do they talk? What do they look like? And as we go through those key features of the brand, we start to think about them more as a person that we can give voice to. So that tells us, is the brand personable? Are they super articulate? Are they very formal? Are they warm and fuzzy? And as we start to be able to describe the brand a little bit better, that informs how we talk about things in copy. It also informs how we do everything else as well. Mm-hmm. In terms of where we market and where we brand, that really comes down to where your target audience is. So if you have a local coffee shop in Mount Lebanon, you probably don't want to advertise in a neighborhood magazine in Fox Chapel. They're just too far away, right? And although that's an extreme example, we see that all the time. Whereas, Amir kills it on Instagram. Instagram has a very specific demographic. TikTok has a very specific demographic. And although those are widening by the day and they're changing all the time, if you cater to people in the geriatrics population, maybe TikTok isn't the right place for you right now. It might be in 10 more years, but you just really, did Regina come out yet? Regina and I are always singing that song from Little Mermaid, I want to go where the people are. You want to go where your target audience is.
Can I just add something to that? I think this is a great point in terms of each platform. You'll be surprised how different it is. For your example, TikTok and Instagram, the content you post on Instagram and TikTok, just as an example, it could be complete. I have my own videos that will get millions of views on Instagram and 200 views on TikTok. Well, because for example, if I post something about financial stuff, right? Some of you guys know, I make some fun of some really extreme morning routines and it's just parody stuff. But it gets received well on Instagram because there's a lot of adults my age and a little bit older that can see that and relate to that. Whereas a 17-year-old kid on TikTok hasn't had an experience with someone like that, so they don't get it. So in terms of position, for sure, if you who do you want to reach, then we can talk about which platform you want to use.
So it sounds to me, I'm just throwing this one in because it does kind of coordinate with the next one. How important is it to really do a deep dive and thoroughly try to figure out your audience age-wise, economic income, and try to figure out who you want to attract and answer that question? And then how different is it for businesses to find these social media sites? Who do they go to when it's business to business?
Yeah. So for your first question with how important it is to understand your audience, I mean, your audience is huge because honestly, at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be buying from you. They're the ones that are going to bring in sales, bring in the money. So if you don't understand your audience, you're going to have a very hard time selling. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people run into, myself included, starting out is defining your audience, because a lot of us, we just think, well, I want to get as many people as possible, so everyone's my audience. But that kind of gets you in a difficult position because now you're trying to appeal to billions of different types of people and different types of interests. And then, like I said before, it's just people aren't going to understand exactly what you do. They're not really going to understand what you stand for, and you're going to start to blend in just like every other business. So if you really do a deep dive, you really hone in on who your audience is, not only are you going to have a clearer target that you're trying to hit, which is great just as a business owner to have, but you're also going to have a vast understanding of how to really capture that audience consistently. So I think it's very important to know your audience and to lay that all out. And then the second question was about business to business.
Yes.
Could you rephrase this again? Sorry.
How much different is it for you to find your specific audience if you're business to business versus business to a consumer?
Oh, okay. So that's actually a good point. So that kind of ties into, even if you have a target audience, you don't want it to be so broad that it's like everyone. But it doesn't also have to be like, I only work with 14-year-old teens who are surfing TikTok and love fashion or something like that. Like, there can be some diversity in your audience, and I think that kind of goes into, you can have a different audience for business to business versus business to consumer. I mean, you can have your profile of the two set up to target those areas, and they should be different because they're in a different market, they're in a different field. So
yeah, I think that the avatar is definitely something that you learn over time. As a portrait photographer, I've photographed tons of different things, whether that's a wedding, an event, a family, a personal branding session, a headshot, and you just learn what you like and what you don't like. So I always think that when you're starting, you should have some idea of what you want to do, but don't be afraid to try something new or take new things on, because you'll learn over time what your specialty is and what you actually want to be doing, what you're passionate about. When it comes to B2B or B2C, I think that's where Pat really comes in. The actual copy that you have and the verbiage that you have is what's going to change at its core, because you still need a professional headshot, you still need a nice logo, you still need good branding, you still need people to be able to recognize you. Whether that's, for me, like B2C with my high school and college seniors, I mean, they're all consumers. They don't run a business. They are not an executive of anything of the sorts. They're 17, 18 years old looking to have some photos done. But the verbiage that I'm using with them is probably fun, light, and upbeat, where if I'm on LinkedIn trying to reach out to other businesses and reaching out to higher level executives, it's probably not going to be as silly as if I was talking to an 18-year-old. And that copy is going to tweak, even though the service that I'm offering still remains as photography.
So in terms of like target audience, that was the first question, right?
Yes.
What was exactly the question? Sorry.
Business to business versus business to consumer.
How
Trying to
important?
find your specific audience. How do you differentiate?
Yeah, and how important is your avatar going into?
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, it's very important actually, because again, when you're making, let's say, content, video content, you want to obviously make content that person, that your avatar is going to be like finding value in, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like common sense in that sense. But also at the same time, sometimes, especially in the social media world, what a lot of times happens, it's happened for me, where maybe your avatar is like someone, like an older person, but you make content that maybe a younger person would like. That's still okay, because what happens is maybe that young person's father is, or your mother is like your avatar, so you can still like reach it that way. So that's what I would say. I think Pat has more input in that. But in terms of B2B and B2C, I think as someone who works in the B2B industry, I think I find it very hard like to find a business owner. Like if I have to, let's say, cold call a business, most of the businesses, I'm not going to find this person, right? I have to go through like 600 gatekeepers, and I don't like doing that as well, because I feel like I'm soliciting. I don't want to bother people like that. Whereas if you make content, like business owners are like all of you guys, we're all the same. Like we're on our phones, we're all scrolling on Instagram, some way of form on social media. So like if you make content, you can connect with them. It's so much easier to get a hold of the person you want to reach if they've seen you on social media, for example, and you can just DM them. But that's what I would say.
For the target audience, specific is terrific, as they say. And the more granular you can get, the better. So if you sell medical devices, you might say, oh, I'm just trying to reach people in the medical community. Well, if you go and you show your product to 1,000 different nurses, all of those nurses might say, that's cool, I can't give you any money for it, I can't buy it from you because they're not the decision makers. So then you say, okay, I'm looking for medical professionals who are also hospital administrators, and that gives you a much more targeted demographic. It's also really valuable if you run ads. The power of digital ads is that you can target very specific demographics, but you can't do that unless you have that demographic information going in. Knowing exactly who you're targeting informs a lot of your copy. It informs your branding decisions. It informs so much, and it just helps you make better decisions throughout your entire marketing. And in terms of B2B to B2C, I think the important thing to remember is all marketing is human-to-human marketing. So even if we're marketing to companies or marketing to consumers directly, the thing to remember is that all of our prospects have problems, and everybody in here has a solution to those problems, right? And so understanding our target audience helps us communicate those solutions better throughout our marketing and our branding, and ultimately helps us be more successful.
Okay, I have the ultimate question here, because everybody wants to know this. How do you grow your following without buying, Instagram followers, or, how do you just get people to follow you, to engage with you, so that you can have that, 5K or...
You want to start?
Sure. So, I mean, like I've said already a few times, let's say you're on Instagram. So short form content, just so you guys understand how the algorithm works. I'm such a nerd when it comes to these things. I analyze every time I'm even scrolling on my phone. I'm like, all right, why did this video go viral? Why did this not go? What did it? So I've analyzed so much, and to make it as simple as possible, if you want to build a following, whether it's for your personal brand or for your business. The easiest way is to post reels, but how does that work? Well, when you post a reel on Instagram, it shows it to a set number of people, let's say 200 people. And depending on how that works with the 200 people, whether it's the likes or comments, the watch time is very important. It changes on platforms. So recently, what was very important is the number of shares. So if you look at any big videos, a lot of people that good high level content creators, they would have a lot of shares. You can see how many shares they have on their video, and so things like that. So it shows it to say 200 people. If those 200 people don't react to it, don't engage with it in any ways, it's probably not going to reach a lot of people. But let's say it does, it reaches the right 200 people, and they interact, they comment, they like, they share, depending on what the metric is at the time. Let's say watch time seems to be, and watch time. You guys understand what I mean by watch time? So the average view duration of, let's say, a 30-second video, so if that percentage is 90% or 100%, which for short form content, it's probably going to show it to more people. And if once it shows it to more people, it's like a snowball effect. And eventually, when a video goes viral, is at a point where it's past that showing it to 200 people. It just shows it to 100 people, and you'll wake up, and you keep scrolling on your notifications, and it keeps showing it to more and more and more people. You have a couple videos like that. You post 3 months. Consistently, you have 2 videos that reach a couple million views. Suddenly you have 50, 60, 100,000 followers on your Instagram. There's never been anything like this. Before, when this algorithm didn't exist, it was a lot more grind and a lot more, hey, let's do a giveaway, hey, let's do this, hey, let's do that. But now it's you just have to post good videos and engaging videos. Give value in your videos, whether it's through entertainment, whether it's through knowledge, whatever it is. If you're giving value in the video and you do it consistently in a good form, that's the absolute easiest way, and it's never been easier to grow a following on social media, in my opinion. But that's what I would say.
Awesome.
The best way.
I think, again, playing off of that, there are multiple algorithms within your feed as well. So you have the algorithm of your stories and whose stories you see first, the algorithm of your actual feed, so whose posts are you seeing. You have an entire second algorithm for your reels. You have another algorithm for your the homepage where it just shows you random content. So there are a lot of factors when it comes into how people are reaching your content. For me, growing my Instagram following over time specifically was just about consistency. Every time somebody was commenting on my stuff, I was commenting back. I was making sure to interact with other people. And it is time consuming, but we're already on our phones. So why would you not just take the extra 2 seconds to just throw some random emojis in the comment? Because then when that person sees your stuff, they're most likely gonna return the favor. So consistency is definitely huge, and being consistent with your following, whether that's 100 people following you or 100,000 people following you, being knowledgeable on all aspects of social media. So your stories, keeping your content fresh up there, posting every so often. I personally have been using the Instagram channel, so every time I'm out doing something like this, I just throw it up in the channel and let people know, hey, I'm going to be talking at Cohatch today. Here's the link to join me. And it acts as a direct message into their feeds. With the actual posts themselves, you can post a single photo. The Scroll app is very popular right now, where you can post multiple photos and it kind of creates a fun design for you. It's all templates. It's very user-friendly. You do want to keep up with your reels, making sure that everything is informative, adding text, making sure that you get that initial hook, so that as soon as somebody starts to watch the video, they want to stay and finish the video. And this can be a combination of your brand, whether that's personal. I post a lot of stuff of like, hey, behind the scenes, this is how I set this up. Hey, this is me and all of my friends just taking a walk with, you know, a little silly caption. Or if it's something more in depth, for me, I put a lot of reels out that show like a slide of a bunch of my photos, just to keep people's attentions. Fun, easy transition. There are so many apps out there that have templates. You have Canva is super, super popular. You can use CapCut. There are apps that you can pay monthly and yearly fees for that gives you tons of templates and trending templates. You also want to look at trending audios as well and making sure that you're using things that are on the up and up. And again, all of that is just staying consistent with all of those pieces of the marketing and the branding. It sounds like a lot, but once you start doing it, it just gets easier. I have my phone recording constantly. I had a shoot earlier this morning. I had it running a time lapse the entire time I was setting up the set. We had took a short video of the girl getting ready. We took another video of her in the set, and then I just let my camera run the entire time on my phone, just the entire time that we were shooting, both digital and film formats, because everything that you do is content. I have videos of me loading up film cameras. I have videos of me like walking to the set. It doesn't have to be something super intense. If you're trying to inform people about your brand and what you do, it doesn't have, we all have phones, we all have cameras. It doesn't have to be a super, super intense thing every single time.
Did you guys get to answer?
Do you wanna-
Nicole's left?
So for me, I feel like I don't have a super big following. So I feel like I don't want to say too much, but I think what I've noticed a lot is, for me, having a following on Instagram, it's not been as much of a target for me. I've really shifted a lot towards building a network on LinkedIn. So to kind of like, I guess, switch the answer around a little bit, what I find is really useful, and I think it also extends to Instagram too, is just providing stuff that's like helpful. Kind of what Amir was saying too, that's valuable. I mean, the first letter in sales really stands for service, and it's about what can you give away to people? How can you kind of serve people, whether it's like a 10-second clip or it's just like a simple post that people will look at and be like, oh, that was like really great advice, I needed that, or that was like exactly the problem that I was facing today. And like, how can you kind of help people in their businesses, or maybe it's, if you're focusing on consumers, like their personal problems that they're seeking help in. And I think you start to build valuable connections in that sense, because I think what's even more important than maybe like having a following is having genuine connection with people. And I think that just extends to life, honestly. Like if you can form genuine connections with people, if people know you care about them and their business, then they're gonna value you and what you have to offer just as much as you value them.
Yeah, and I'll extend off of that. So like Seth Godin is like the marketer's marketer, and he writes a lot about having 1,000 really invested followers for you and your brand. And the reason for that is that you have 1,000 people who are ready to throw down $10 for whatever you make every single month. You'll never have to like really work again. And so while I think there are 100 different reasons why you should want to get like 1 million views on like Instagram and stuff like that. It's also really important to make sure that you're retaining the quality of your followers as your followers are increasing. So I've seen a lot of people who will get like 10,000 followers and they're frustrated that they launch a new product or they offer a new service and no one buys it. And it's because the people that are following them aren't really invested in them, in their brand. They're following them for another reason. So even if you are trending upwards really slowly, to me that's perfectly okay as long as the quality of those followers is still really high, because they know that you're providing a valuable service, and those are people that you know that you can go to and you can offer something and they'll buy it from you. I also don't have like 1 million followers, but for one of my side brands that I built, it's a music brand, and I think collectively has like 2,000 followers, but they're all really, really invested. And every year I run a fundraiser for a music nonprofit. And the last 2 years, the fundraiser is over in like 24 hours because we hit our goal. And it's just because like I have a personal relationship with so many of those people, and we're very closely knit, and I know that they'll come through when I need them. It's just really valuable to maintain those relationships and build a valuable following, not just a big following.
Yeah, and sorry, I want to add something, and I think you keep bringing up such good points. I have a perfect example for what he just said. While there is a lot of benefit to going viral and millions of views, I actually was one of those people that, like you said, that I have one video like a long time ago. It was a short video. It was just like a comedy video with nothing behind it, no service or nothing. This was a long time ago. And it has like 160 million views, okay? And when I tell you that I have a video on my business page that has 8,000 views, and those 8,000 views have made me way more money than 160 million, like you might not believe me, but it's because, like you said, the value is very important. So while it is good to keep building your follower and the numbers, who you want to reach, I think it's way more valuable to reach 10,000 people that would potentially become customers or are like actual fans of your work, rather than a whole bunch of people. Because like you said, specifically the reason is like when I did get the 160 million, I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be like, screw you guys, I'm out of here. Like, Mom, I'm like retired. And then I launched a merch. So I was like, this is what you're supposed to do. This is where I cash in, and no one bought it. No one. I had like hundreds and thousands of views. No, not a single. Like actually maybe a couple, but it was like, I was like, really like. But then on my business page, because I had a more valuable service, I feel like, and it reached the correct people, like they were all business owners, that generated me more money. So the value, I think 100% is more important.
I also think too, whenever you are climbing that ladder, especially like I am posting all of my artwork, so I'm connecting with a lot of different artists that are all over the place. So I don't necessarily have a following that I can serve directly, right? So like I was just talking to a fellow artist, but they're in the UK, and we were going back and forth about something similar that we had photographed, but there's no way for us to have anything more than an internet connection for the time being, right? So I am reaching people all over the world, but like you're saying, that's not necessarily beneficial because they're not here right now where I'm able to provide them the service. It's really cool to have these connections. I love the conversations that I have with the people. It's great to see the differences and the similarities, especially from an art perspective, but there is not a direct correlation of us working together anytime soon.
Okay, I have a question I'm going to throw in.
'Kay.
And I'm not trying to at all pitch myself or anything, but I deal with this, and I am so curious to know how social media measures up to this. But my company sells cinema advertising, and one of the things that we tell people is that it's really best to run for a long time, like 6 months or a year. And the reason why is because we're not like radio or TV. People wake up daily, every morning, put the same radio station on or the same TV station. So in 1 week, you can just get about everybody that listens to that radio. Where movies, you don't go to the movies every day. However, the attendance is roughly the same every day. So that means there's constantly new people there every day. So we say, advertise over 6 months or a year, and you're going to reach so many people. How does that work on social media? Is it statistically, do people get up every day and go on Facebook or go on LinkedIn, go on Instagram? Is it something that is daily, or would you say it's a weekend thing?
I think it really depends on the person. I don't keep social media on my phone, so I'm not somebody who wakes up and scrolls immediately. I only keep it on my iPad, specifically so I don't do what I just said, because I used to wake up and scroll. So I think, in my personal experience, the long-term exposure with social media and the consistency is what is going to benefit you. But back to your point earlier, it is free. So there's really no point to not just be posting occasionally. Even if it's just on your story, that's better than nothing at all. And going back to the algorithm question, it's not going to show the same people, like with the movie context, the same things every time. So I might make one post today and it's going to show it to 100 people and it might flop, and then when I make a post tomorrow, it's going to show it to a different 100 people and it might skyrocket and then reach more and more people as the post goes. So I think consistency and knowing your limits as well, like how many sessions do I have in a month is going to equate to how many times I'm going to be able to post on social media. And obviously as an artist, that's a little bit different, but just knowing Sally, how many clothes do you get in on a weekly basis that, you could be taking, a different picture, and you would have the ability to post something every day if you really wanted to, where some of us, how often do you guys have clients in the office that you're able to interact with? So it might be different where you guys are like, we can only post 2 times a week, but as long as you're doing that consistently long term, I think that's better than a short stint when it comes to the free side of social media.
I think it depends on the platform too. I've heard say Instagram, most things that you post tend to have a lifespan of a day. That's maybe changed with things over the years, but for the most part, you post something, it's probably gonna last a day. If you post something on LinkedIn, I do notice the lifespan's a little bit longer. I'll have posted things weeks ago, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, 5 people suddenly liked it. That's crazy. I didn't think anyone saw it. Something like Pinterest, I think is great if you're trying to go for long term, because Pinterest and YouTube even, you could post something years ago, and all of a sudden you get thousands of shares out of nowhere. I try to run a Pinterest page on the side just to test things. And I've noticed something I posted 5 months ago, all of a sudden it got 99 clicks and thousands of shares. I was like, this was dead last week. What happened? And I think YouTube is similar. So it depends on the platform. It depends on your audience for sure. But I think each platform really has its own strategy. So that's kind of where it gets tricky.
I also think, to play off of that, not to cut in front of you guys, but this goes back to knowing your audience. Mm-hmm. So what audience is your clientele going to be on? So again, I'm going to be posting on Instagram consistently because that's where a lot of my seniors are going to be at. And then I'm going to be posting on LinkedIn consistently for my B2B consumers. Where I'm not really a TikTok person, so I'm not really concentrating on that. Occasionally I'll throw something up, but I'm not worried about the life of my TikTok account. I have it exists. If somebody looks me up, there's a couple of pieces of content there, but it's not my core focus. So knowing, again, those pages and what's gonna benefit you is gonna make a difference.
Yeah, sure. Can you read off the question one more time just so I can answer it correctly? Because I think I'm going to go in a little bit of a different direction. I just want to make sure it's appropriate.
Okay, so I was just saying, a time frame. I do cinema advertising, and I tell people to go 6 months or a year because not everybody goes to movies every day. So how is it with social media? Is everybody getting on the social media sites every single day?
So. Yes, and you can get really detailed statistics on each individual platform, how frequently people show up, how long they spend there every day. I think the average TikTok user spends it's an hour every day on the platform. Bananas.
It tracks.
It's absolutely crazy. The challenge though is, as Nicole was saying, you'll show up and then you're just gone. Like the moment they scroll by you, you're just like gone forever. And they'll never ever think about you again. So if you like post once a year and they scroll by it, you're gone until they see you in 12 months. And like that does nothing for your brand, it does nothing for brand recognition, it does nothing for brand awareness. Where I think where social media platforms get really interesting is on the paid side. So you can run with what we call like awareness campaigns, where all you're paying for is to show up over and over and over again. So we have statistics in marketing and advertising about how many interactions you need with a brand before you recognize them and trust them before you write your purchase. And that's the value of an awareness campaign, is that you can just pay to show up every single day. And you show up in the feeds, you show up in the sidebars, depending on what platform you're in. And that often is much more affordable than a conversion campaign. Basically, a campaign we would run to get a sale, we're just paying to show up. And so that might be something that costs you $10 a day versus $10 a click, which is very expensive. There's a lot that we can talk about there. And Amir, you might have some perspective on paid advertising since you've had experience there.
Yeah, I think I already talked too much, so I'm not going to talk a lot. But I agree with a lot. I have a short attention span, so I understand. I don't want to talk more. But yeah, the reason paid. What was the initial question? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even remember the question.
She said, but with the movie advertising, with her cinema advertising, it's 6 months to a year. So how does social media differentiate from something such as a movie theater?
Yeah, so I'll keep it short. Like I said, it's 100%. It's a volume game. It's a consistency game. It's not 1-2 videos. It's not a movie where you just make one movie and you're like, all right, I'm done. It's like, then like Dominique said, it doesn't have to be. It's not like I said, it's not a movie. Just pick up your camera, document what you do. Like you're talking to a client, just document that. If you can do that legally.
Yeah, we look at all the lawyers over there. But I mean, even if you were just like at your desk, like writing papers, like just set a time lapse, make sure it's tilted a little bit so you can't see anybody's names or what they're getting sued for, and yeah.
But yeah, it's 100%. It's just consistent volume game.
Okay, cool. So do we have any questions from the audience? If you do, just raise your hand, tell us where your business is and what you're trying to do, and then you can ask a question to any of them. Anybody?
Somebody has a
I
question.
have a comment. I just thought of this. This is crazy. But, I'm going to the Taylor Swift movie on Thursday. I'm thinking, Dominique, if we could geofence every single one of those teenagers.
Going into.
Get her to do the
I know.
thing. Poof.
Branding.
We do mobile advertising too, and we work with Ground Truth out of New York City.
But wouldn't that work with that Taylor Swift one?
Yeah.
All those young girls in there
And Beyonce.
that want their heads shots done?
We had so many photographers in the city when Taylor Swift came to town set up minis, like photo shoot minis outside of the stadium. And I mean, people went crazy with their outfits and everything else. So they literally did just that, finding people who were like, hey, I'm going to the show or whatever. And it was like, hey, for this amount of money, I'll come capture you in your outfit outside the stadium for 20 minutes and you'll get this many photos back. That's very much a thing. It's kind of scary. The Swift following is a lot.
And that reminds me too of something that Patrick said about the getting granular. With our mobile advertising, we can really get granular, which is good. And we do keep a eye on it to make sure that you can meet your impressions. You know, if you get too granular, you won't meet your impressions. But we can take it down to like teenagers that like music, teenagers that attend Taylor Swift, or buy Taylor Swift merchandise. You know, you can get real granular, but
And it's usually better that way when you're dealing with targeting, because I'm in the print business, which I do printing and mailing. So it's very much I target. I'll tell somebody to either saturate an area or it's not going to work. You need to target your audience with income and narrow it all down. So same thing with this.
Jody, can I jump in one more time?
Yes.
Susan brought up an interesting word, an interesting point about I think he's geofencing or geotargeting. So there are some very Orwellian strategies that you can use today that are pretty scary, but very, very effective. So basically,
Very terrifying.
There are companies even in Pittsburgh where you can tell them, like, I want to target any devices that pass into this geographic space, like, based off of GPS coordinates. So, like, in theory, we could target everybody in this room from that wall to this wall to that wall. And so when we talk about like how granular you can get in your targeting, you can get really, really granular with the right technology. And
They can
pretty
actually
crazy.
double target and get them on their phones, and then when they go home,
Yep.
it's same IP address in
Yep.
the house. They'll get them on their laptop
Well,
or their TV. Their smart.
That goes to show with the movie, when I went to Settlers Ridge movie,
Uh-huh.
and I came out, and I was like, we should go get something to eat, and didn't the Cadillac restaurant come up on their ad? And I'm
You
like,
can-
oh, advertising, free advertising, we're going there. And
You can do a lot of
boy,
stuff
oh
with
boy,
that.
That's smart on their part.
You can do age, you can do income, you can do schools can actually target, like if they know that you've had a kid recently, you know, it's anybody who has a kid between the ages of 5 and 15, they can get ads sent for school. You can do just the location itself. I mean, really the possibilities are kind of endless, and it is kind of terrifying that, I mean, your TV has something, your IP address, your phone has
Right.
something, every digital device that you buy basically has something.
If you are buying mobile advertising, and not to pitch myself again, but make sure that whoever's providing your mobile advertising is providing really good reports. The reports should tell you where, like they should have a heat map that'll show you where your target audience, where you had the most clicks, what city, what town it came from, and it'll tell you what time of day, that day of the week, and it should have bar graphs that show you peaks and valleys of when people were looking at your ads. So if you're not getting like a good report like that, that's not a good mobile company.
Anybody else have questions? Go for it.
So I have two questions. One, I'm kind of trying to target more professional conferences and stuff. Basically, every startup has, we have a LinkedIn, a Twitter, a Facebook, an Instagram. Since I'm only targeting like professionals, should I focus more on LinkedIn or just like not even have like a Facebook, Instagram, that sort of thing?
Personally, I think that you should always have everything. Like I said, even if you're not posting on it frequently, because, I mean, Pat can touch on this more, but SEO, you want your name out there as many times as possible. So to have all of those pages and have your name reoccurring, it's only going to help you when somebody is Googling you. But definitely pick one platform to kind of focus on, and you already know that that's LinkedIn. So I would put all of your energy and your branding and your marketing and all of your ad money into that platform. But again, keep the other ones open and just try to post every once in a while so that it's there, because somebody might look you up on Instagram first, and if nothing pops up, there's a pretty high chance that they're not going to take it to the next step to open it up to another platform and look for you again. It's just going to be
Good point.
gone.
Yeah.
So then I have a second question for Pat once, if
Yeah.
he has a follow-up to.
Well, yeah, Dominique brings up a good point. Like, TikTok and Instagram are quickly becoming like some of the most popular search engines in the world. And if you're not there, and that's somebody's search engine of choice, you risk losing that opportunity. But any marketing endeavor is worth doing well. And so if you're just going to half-ass Facebook and Instagram or someplace else, like it's not worth being there because it could damage your image. It does sound like LinkedIn is probably going to be your best starting point. So I would start there, learn from that and what people react to, and then apply that into other platforms, because they're going to probably be a little bit more secondary, but still worth pursuing.
And there are apps that you can schedule out all of your content
I was
for
just gonna ask
literally
that.
the whole year. So
That's all the social
yeah,
media.
so I use Hootsuite. You recommended another one.
Yeah, I like Meet Edgar, and the reason I like Meet Edgar is it'll recycle content. So you can like put in like 50 posts and then just tell them to like, hey, run through these every single Monday. So we
Right.
do that with like, we do that for Poetica. We reset everything up at the beginning of the year, and it just kind of cycles through. But for smaller accounts as well, we'll have like campaigns that run, and they just run on repeat, and it's very cost effective. But it's Meet Edgar, and I think some other platforms are rolling out a feature like that as well. But if you don't like to be on it or in it, it's
Yeah.
helpful.
I like Hootsuite for a couple of different reasons. I am not endorsed by them, but you can post to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can do Pinterest on there. Yep, with one click, you can just copy everything over. One of the reasons that I like Hootsuite is that you can also automate your Instagram stories, which is a lot of platforms don't have that feature. And Instagram is one of my main places to be all of the time. You can schedule content out. Oh my gosh, probably almost 2 years at this point, you know, if you really want to sit down and pound it out. And then it also does give you back reports from each platform. So it's nice to see everything for me in one space where I can actively compare what is performing well instead of having 20 different data sheets that I've pulled from each platform. It's all just right there in one click. But there's tons of scheduling apps to make that possible. So it can be very, very overwhelming to dive into your brand on social media, but there are tools out there as well as people to help you.
And then the second one, you talked about Orwellian. Our phones are listening to us for advertising, right? Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
They'll say no, but yeah.
They'll say no, but yeah.
Because like I'll be like talking about like food and then, or like some restaurant, and then all of a sudden that restaurant's on Google Ads, and it's like this. No.
Yeah, you got to use it to your advantage. Be like, oh, I'm really hungry for some Thai food.
I wish I could get a discount.
Your FBI agent is listening. That's what I always say. Anybody
Any more
else?
questions?
Nicely done.
Thanks, Sally.
I do need these back.